Hi, it's J. Peter White here. Today I want to talk about how to double your email open rate and get more value out of your list. Email open rates are notoriously low, and it really is no wonder considering how much junk email we get on a daily basis. Different market segments have different open rates. However, averaged over all industries, open rates are still below 20%. That means 80% of the emails you send to your list aren't even getting opened, let alone read. And if you're working hard to grow your list, which I'm sure you are, it can be discouraging to hit that send button and see all those email addresses that you work so hard to collect, either organically or through paid advertising, going to waste. Whenever you hear about how you should expect to make X dollars per month for each email address on your list, take that with a grain of salt, because no two industries or lists are alike. What might be a good open rate for my list might be terribly low for yours. But let's assume you can make X dollars per email subscriber. What if you could substantially increase the number of people who actually opened your emails? Think about it. If you doubled your open rates, you basically have doubled the size of your list. So let's say you've got 10,000 subscribers on your list now. What would your business look like if you could increase that to 20,000? And it gets better. If you can increase your open rate, then you're actually more than doubling the value of your list. And I'll tell you why that is in just a minute. They say that the money is in the list, but we know that there's much more to it than that. The value of your list is in the relationship that you have with the people on it. And a good indicator of that relationship is what your open and engagement rates are. Way back in the day, I'm talking last century here, my brother Stephen and I started building our list for Virtual Mechanics. Stephen set up his computer on his kitchen table. He was on a dial-up modem, and that was where the phone jack was. There were no email service providers like MailChimp or Infusionsoft. Those guys didn't exist yet. So when an email address came in, it would have to be downloaded onto the desktop computer. And when we sent a newsletter to our list, it would take hours to send. The computer would be set to send through the night. Dinner was often not eaten at the kitchen table in those days. Half of the time, we'd wake up the next morning, the computer would have crashed because our list was so large. We had no idea who received our newsletters, let alone who actually opened them. Now it's easy. Click a button and your emails are sent out instantly, and you can see right away how many people are opening them and interacting with them. So how do you get higher open rates? Well, you could claim, like some people in the industry do, that they get open rates of 60% or more. They probably have 3 people on their list, their business partner, their spouse, and their mom, and only one person is opening the email. Guess who that is? If you want to increase your open rate and effectively more than double the value of your list, it's really not rocket science, and you absolutely can do it. I've broken it down into 2 areas. Delivery, and that includes the day, time, and the destination, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And the content, which includes the subject line and what you say in the email and the frequency that you send your emails out. So let's talk about delivery, the day. So what's the best day to send to your list? Well, like many things in life, that depends. And I'm not trying to fudge the answer. But really, I can't tell you that because it comes down to your industry. For example, Saturday night might not be a good time to send your newsletter if you're in the business of promoting corporate database software. However, if you're in the dating business, then just a guess, but I would think Saturday night might be a great time to send that email about how to get a date. So it really comes down to your business and when your audience is most likely to engage with your message. For blog post notifications, Sunday or early in the week are good days. B2B, go with a weekday, preferably earlier in the week. So what's a good time? Best time of day to send to your list also depends on the day you're sending it, your industry, and your audience. Here's the easiest solution. Many of the email service providers have a function that will allow you to send based on the time that people on your list are most likely to open them. And they get that info by looking at historical data from your list, which is really cool. So if you have a list of any size, I'd use that. But let's say you have a small list to start, or if your ESP doesn't have that function. If that's the case, then I'd go with 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Why? Because that was what we found worked best for us over the years, after people have read their morning emails and before lunch. And if your email service provider allows you to stagger your emails based on time zone, even better. Okay, let's talk about the folder. If your email is ending up in your subscriber's junk folder, then there's a pretty good chance it's not getting read. So how do you keep it out of the junk mail folder? Well, there are a couple of things that you can do that will help. And there's one thing you can do that will ensure this doesn't happen. First, make sure that you have a default from email address set. You do that in your email service provider. Second, avoid using words that flag spam algorithms, like free, written all in caps, that type of thing. But really, the best way to ensure that your emails are not ending up in the wrong folder is to ask your readers, when they sign up to your list, to whitelist them, and then show them how to do it. The added benefit of this is that it trains email clients, and specifically Gmail, which is the most by far used email client these days. But it trains Gmail on other people's systems to whitelist your emails too. And if you want to see how to do that, you can sign up for my list at jpeterwhite.com if you're not already on it, and I'll walk you through how to do that. And you can feel free to copy what I've done. So let's talk now about content. Now we're getting into the meat, or the soy grits if you prefer, which is the content. Subject lines give everyone anxiety, and rightfully so. This one sentence goes such a long way to determine if your email is even going to get open. The thing is, too many people try to get tricky or smart, and it generally backfires. Now I know that there's a lot riding on the subject line, but if you clearly say what the value of the email is, how I did this, how you can do this, what I learned, what you can learn, etc. Those are pretty good starting points. Again, with many email service providers, you can do A/B testing. That means you send the email out, but with two different subject lines. Some emails with subject line A are sent to one segment, others with subject line B are sent to another segment. Whichever emails get the most opens is the winner. Then the remainder of the list gets the winning subject line. Note, though, that for this to work, you have to have a pretty substantial size list. I'm talking over 10,000 people here. So now let's talk about story. The next component is entertainment value, and this is where it gets fun. What do people want? They want to be entertained, and they want to be informed. We're a species that communicates through story. How did I get a date? I saw a woolly mammoth. I killed a woolly mammoth. I took the meat home and roasted it on a fire outside my cave. I cleaned off in the lavender bushes. Now I've got 20 kids. Go figure. Tell a story in your emails, preferably one that your reader can relate to. Where you are, how did you get there? So what not to do? The cardinal sins are being disingenuous, being inauthentic, and being boring. We can see through it all, and we get bored really easily. Win people's imaginations, and you will win their trust. And just as importantly as story is value. You'll often hear the phrase secret sauce bandied about. This is a secret sauce I use to fill up my webinars. This is a secret sauce I use to get more consulting clients. Well, if there is a secret sauce to getting a higher open rate to your emails, it comes from providing value to your list. Stories set the scene for you to be able to provide value, preferably a solution to your reader's problem. This is where the woolly mammoths roam. This is how I killed one. This is how I cooked it. And this is where the lavender bush is. Think about the emails you get. Chances are that the ones with the most value are the ones that get read the most. Give the best, never hold back, and you'll get the best in return. So how often should you send your email? You want to entertain and you want to inform. Well, out of sight equals out of mind. If you're not messaging your list on a regular basis, you're losing it. And this is one of the big ones I see my colleagues falling into. You probably know the drill. You sign up for someone's list, you get a few emails, and then nothing. Then all of a sudden you get a flurry of messages, usually about their best friend who's just released a great product that you absolutely must buy. Well, if you're like me, and I'm sure you are, you don't find that to be very authentic. The winners are those that message their list regularly. And by regularly, I mean at least once a week. There you have it. But I'll add one more thought. If you send an email to a friend, would you expect that they opened it? You would. And why is that? Well, because it came from a friend, someone you know and trust. And that's what you want to think about when you're writing and sending your emails. Treat your audience like a trusted friend, and they'll do the same in kind. If you're looking to grow your list, I put together a cheat sheet for you on the best way to do that. You can find that at jpeterwhite.com. If you found this useful, I hope you'll recommend it to a friend. Talk to you soon.